Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the June meeting of the Greencastle Common Council. If we could all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening, everyone. Again, welcome to our June council meeting. Linda, will you call the roll, please?
Councilor Adam Cohen.
Here.
Councilor Stacy Langdon. Here. Councilor Steve Fields.
Here.
Councilor Tyler Wade.
Here.
Councilor Mark Hammer.
Here.
Councilor Gary Lemon.
Here.
And Councilor Dave Murray.
Here.
Next on the agenda is public petitions and comments. If there's anything that is not already on the agenda that someone has a reason to make a comment, you're welcome to do so now. Hearing none, we'll move on to special requests. We need to add one more to the special request. That's for the library. It's their request is put out at your location. The first one this evening is for the Putnam County Fair Parade, and Nancy Michael is here, and I think Perry Wainman's providing backup for Nancy.
We're going to have singing?
My reinforcements.
This is a regular annual request, so.
It is, and I'll try to be brief. Linda, thanks to Linda and Bill, Mayor Dorio, I've been able to get the information out to you, and because the department heads, I had the luxury of Mayor Dory invited me to sit down with them. We were able to confirm most things, but again, this is our annual request to close streets for the annual 4-H Fair Parade. It's going to be July the 20th. Our theme is Country Pride Countywide. You're the first to know, but our Grand Marshal this year is going to be Dorothy Brown. We're very excited about having
a great year.
She is having a great year. You know, Dorothy's one of those ladies that embraces and embosses youth and development and leadership. So we are really excited to have her join us this year. Our staging areas are going to be the same as in the past, and thanks to Rod Weinshank at the Roban Park, we're going to have a staging area at Roban, Gardenside, Washington Street, Dairy Castle, and Indianapolis Road. We will have the reviewing stand again at the Masonic Lodge Temple. This year we're going to do a little bit of something different. The reviewing stand will stay at the Masonic Lodge lawn, and that's where the Queens and the Grand Marshal will set up. We also will have our MC, and we will be doing our live stream there. This year, the radio station, we're going to relocate them to Mitch Myers in front of there. It's going to be a great place for them as well to be able to see the parade coming and do the announcement. Thanks to the team here and Chief Sutherland, we have acquired our NDOT permit to reroute traffic for 231. The big request that we've had, in addition to the street closures and the street department, through the Department of Public Works, I should say, through Brad and his employees, we'd like to do no parking on Franklin Street on the south side. That is a huge improvement for the flow of traffic coming back around from that parade, and in the event of an evacuation, it's critically important to be able to move people easily on that street. And Chris Edwards with Putnam County Emergency Management is going to, once again, he's kind of the weather guy. He's going to help us keep an eye out so we always know what's going on. Headley's will not be doing the fun run this year, so if anybody wants to head up a fun run prior to, feel free. But with the weather being so hot that time of day, and their schedule, their summer is really full this year, we're not going to be having that. We are going to be seeing the Boy Scouts with the Garrison flag, we hope, again. We got a couple of bands from GHS, Greencastle High School, thank you, Superintendent Hubble, and the new band director, as well as North Putnam. And this year we have the photography club that's going to be involved taking pictures along the way. So we hope that people will be coming out and getting their chairs set up, and I'm happy to answer any questions. Perry and Rose Wayman annually, I'm very grateful for their participation with us. They do a notification of all the businesses in the area that we are going to be shutting down early. We are bumping our requests this year by about 30 minutes. We're trying to figure out how to, participants don't have to wait so long in the hot heat. So they're going to be required to be ready and registered, and they're going to be registering at the high school parking lot. Again, thanks to the Greencastle Community Schools for letting us borrow that area. We're going to be requiring that lineup at 5:30 instead of 5. We're going to be asking that we close Washington Street from Percy to Wood at 4:30, because our plan is that with the electronic registration, it's allowed our participants to get the information prepared for them ahead of time. And so as soon as they come, we'll give them their packet and we're going to line them up. It's just going to require more volunteers on our part. So if you know anybody that wants to help on the day of the parade, we'd love to have it. And we do have cleanup crews. We have some great organizations, including Custom Detail, a business in town who's helped us for the last 5 years, Putnam County Comprehensive Services. Greencastle Civic Lead this year is also providing trash bins, I want to tell you, and they're going to be in each block. And the hope is that when people have their trash, they'll be encouraged to put it in the trash. There's only going to be one per block on each side, but that was a partnership with Greencastle Civic Lead, and they worked with Putnam County Family Support Services on some supply that they had, and then the Knights of Columbus have confirmed. So we want to put the city back the way we found it. And I do want to give you kind of another heads up. Next year, we're really kind of looking to move this to the Sunday prior to, because we're missing 4-H'ers. The fair has evolved over the last 15 years in such a big event that Friday night's really busy. And people getting off of work kind of makes it a challenge for them to get there to see the parade. And it's a real challenge for our 4-H'ers, because many of them have to be on the fairgrounds with getting their livestock in and set up. So next year we're going to be looking to a Sunday, just FYI. We've kind of talked to the fair board about it, and they're encouraged. So this year, Friday night, July the 20th, street closures 4:30 and 5:30. Any questions?
I move that this request be approved.
Second. Motion by Dave, second by Mark. Any further questions or discussion? Hearing none, please signify your approval by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you
Great,
very
thanks
much.
Nancy,
Appreciate
thanks
it.
Waitmans.
Thank all of you for all your work.
Yes, thank you.
Amen.
Yeah.
Okay, next up is Greencastle Music Fest.
Is what I understood.
Well, that's dating me now.
And this is a two-part request, one for street closure and one for noise ordinance waiver.
Good evening, everyone. Mayor Dory said, I'm here for the Music Fest, the annual Music Fest this year. Brian Carrington, I'm here on behalf of Gail Smith, Almost Home, and the Greencastle Music Fest. Before I get into the details for the street closure request and the sound ordinance waiver, I'd like to take a minute to thank the City Council, the Fire Chief, the Police Chief, and many others that have supported the Music Fest the past 8 years. This being our ninth year for the Music Fest, we've tried to improve it year by year. The 9th year, we anticipate it being larger than the past year. We're excited about our lineup. We've got the Louisville Crashers are returning this year. We've got an improved stage, an improved sound system, a light show. We've expanded our kids zone. We're going to offer additional activities in the kids zone. The cornhole tournament will take place as well. One other thing I'd like to add regarding the stage. In past years, we've had the stage facing directly down Franklin Street, which has kind of limited our view on Indiana Street. So we're going to turn the stage at an angle, pull it back a bit, and offer better viewing on both Indiana and Franklin Streets. As far as the street closure request, we're requesting for Indiana and Franklin Street from 12 a.m. Saturday the 25th through 9 a.m. Sunday the 26th, and the sound ordinance for Saturday the 25th from 3 to 11 p.m. The additional time frame for the street closure comes to help aid setup and tear down. I know with one thing, the stage crew is coming in Friday night. They're going to stay in town. They're going to get started first thing Saturday morning. I know last year was a success. When I pulled up at 6 a.m., there wasn't a single car on on the block. So that was a huge help to kick off the setup. So, any questions?
I just want to put a plug in for those of you that haven't been to the Music Fest. It is quite the scene. In fact, I got so taken with it 2 years ago that with the Louisville Crashers, I offered to pay half their fee if they would come back for the second year. I kept my word, but it was not a small number.
No.
But they're really worth watching and hearing.
Well, yeah, and last year we drew, I think, an estimated 3,000 people to
Yep.
the event. So it's a great event for the community, and we're excited to put it on again this year.
I move that both requests be approved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the requests. Any further questions or discussion? Hearing none, please signify your approval by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, and then you'll get with Lori with all the other
Yeah,
ancillary
she-
paperwork.
Mention that. Yep,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Great, thanks,
Thank you.
Brian. Next up is Barb Tim, and she's here representing the Putnam County Library for an event that they will be having. And
Hello. I am working on a fundraiser for our Putnam Adult Literacy Services fundraiser to be held on July 13th, Friday, July 13th, from 6 to 10 p.m. This is an arts event that will feature music by Ron Dye, Gus Moon. Abby Chu will be coming, and she has a new book of poetry out that she will be speaking on and then selling the book. And then we're bringing in the band Pravada from Indianapolis. It's an indie band. And, so what I'm requesting today is that we can close the 100 block of Poplar Street because we are going to hold our event in the library parking lot, so there will be no parking there. DePaul has granted us use of their parking lot across the street next to Marvin's, and we will have a lot of traffic between those parking lots on Poplar Street. And I've requested it from 8 a.m. to 11 p.m. before the library opens, before patrons think they can get into the library and use our lot. We're just going to close the lot down for the day.
I got a question, just one question. Have the neighbors in that been notified?
Not yet,
Okay.
not yet. I don't know what the usual time frame for that. This is the first I've ever done this, and I don't know what time frame I should do that with them.
We usually ask about a week to 4
Okay.
days beforehand.
Okay, so we have,
And that's a standard request we make of everybody, that they do a door drop or something so the neighbors know.
Are there
Okay.
any neighbors that have driveways off that, or, I don't,
just DePaul parking lot and
and the
Marvin's
library?
delivery.
right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But there are adjoining streets.
Just take a look around, and if you
Yeah.
think somebody's gonna be affected that day.
I'm just thinking that that whole area is, this, with the music and everything, it's a pretty quiet area normally.
Right, right.
And being around a library. But,
That's appropriate.
yeah, but, so anyway, that's what I was thinking, even just a block over, this is gonna have a big effect.
Okay. I would be happy to do that.
People are, just for the public's sake, people don't have to pre-register, they just come. This is just an open
just-
festival, right?
It's a fundraiser, so we are charging $5 admission, and we are gonna have a beer garden, beer garden, and we're gonna have food vendors too.
Will the beer garden or food vendors be on our streets?
No, they'll be on the lot.
So Lori, is that,
Be allowed to take their alcohol in the street?
No, we'll have barricades up, that's what I want, that's why I'm requesting barricades as
We
well.
have to have a beer garden, the beer has to stay in the beer garden for an alcoholic beverage.
Right.
So, sure, okay.
Okay.
Any further questions or anything?
apparently my mic's not working. I'm quiet the rest of the meeting.
I move that we grant the request.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to grant the street closure request for the Putnam County Library. All those, any further questions or discussion? Hearing none, please signify your approval by saying aye.
Aye.
Great, thanks,
Thank
Barb.
you very much.
Okay, next items on the agenda, we have two public hearings, and they're both related. So I'll read both of them and provide some background for the benefit of the public. The first public hearing is a request by Phoenix Closures to waive noncompliance under Rule 4 of Article 10 of Title 50 of the Indiana Administrative Code to correct errors in a tax abatement granted in 2011. After we finish that hearing, we will have a second hearing, and it's a request by Phoenix Closures to increase the investment eligible for personal property tax abatement phase-in from $18.5 million to $26,590,130. Background on this, first I'd like to introduce Stacy Gannon, who is their Vice President of Finance, and Jason Z. I'm going to murder the last name, but Jason is the plant manager here in Greencastle. Phoenix took over the old Oxford Automotive Building in 2012, and after significant reconstruction and investment, the building has returned to new use and now employs 104 people. Property tax abatement phase-in was granted in November of 2011. The company was granted until March 1st of 2015 to complete their investments. The company proposed investing $15.93 million in manufacturing equipment and $350,000 in IT equipment. The eligible amount for abatement was set at $18.5 million to allow for some uncertainty in the original estimates. Over the last year or so, the county assessor had Phoenix's 14-pay-15 and 15-pay-16 personal property tax returns audited. Errors were found in the return, and it was also found that the company spent an additional $7.59 million in the initial project on manufacturing equipment. It should also be noted that the company has invested an additional $3 million since opening on equipment for which they are not seeking abatement. As a result of the errors, it was found that these carried forward, and the auditor, or the assessor, also audited the company's 15-pay-17 and 17-pay-18 returns. The auditor also found that a mezzanine in the building should be treated as personal property rather than real property because its primary function is to hold up equipment. The company has asked if the additional abatement could be increased by the $7.59 million. The Indiana Administrative Code provides for a correction of errors in tax abatement that has been granted or is granted at a later date. If the company had requested an increase in the eligible amount as the project was getting started, I'm sure council would have given the request consideration. Council in the past has done that over the years. It doesn't come up very often, fortunately. In order to correct the error, it is worthwhile to grant the request for additional abatement. If the request is granted, the company will still owe an estimated $89,000 in back taxes to correct the errors. No refunds would be provided to the company, as no refunds are owed. The company certainly took a significant albatross that sat vacant for a number of years here in Greencastle and turned it into a top-notch manufacturing facility. The company overall has invested over $42 million in our community. The company currently employs 104 people, 14 more than were expected in their initial application. And I believe they're planning on hiring some additional employees as well. It's going to be my recommendation later in the meeting that the council waive the rules, and to do that, a resolution will need to be passed. And then secondly, that the council grant the request for the additional abatement. We did ask Phoenix where their employees come from, and currently, of the 104 employees, 38 or 36.5% of the employees live in Putnam County, with obviously the vast majority of that 38 living within the 46135 zip code. 34 are from Clay County, or 32.7%. 15.4% are from Vigo County, or 16 employees, and which is kind of unusual for us, but I believe about the time Phoenix started up, there was a layoff at a plastics manufacturer in Vigo County, and I think they were able to pick up some of their employees, if I'm recalling correctly. Only 4 from Hendricks County, 1 from Owen, 3 from Morgan, 2 from Park, and 6 from a variety of other counties. So we have a fair number of Putnam County residents represented in their employment. And then two other numbers I'll share with you. Because we're basically kind of going back to square one and repeating the process, if the company had originally included that $7.5 million in their abatement, they would pay an additional $300,000 in taxes on that over the 10 years of the abatement schedule, and the company will save about $434,000 over that 10 years of abatement. So basically, it's just kind of an add-on to what they're doing. So because we're doing public hearings, I'll open the floor up first to council to ask any questions, and then we'll open up to the public.
So if we grant this, is this going to go retroactive back to?
It will go, because of all the errors in the tax returns, we're just going to go back and kind of reset everything moving forward. And
Okay.
even with the errors, they're still going to owe some back taxes.
Right.
Because there were multiple errors. The most significant one was confusion between, when we put that maximum number in there, we base it on cost. Because sometimes at the beginning, we don't know exactly what equipment depreciation schedules will be. And there was confusion between cost versus depreciated cost. So when you add the 7.5 to the 18.5, you're still below the 18.5 if it was treated as depreciated cost.
Okay.
So you're saying, Bill, it would be 89,000 plus coming in now and 300,000 plus in additional revenue over the?
No, I'm saying, if we did this, if this was all handled at the beginning, the extra 7.59 million in equipment would save the company would pay 300,000, a little bit more than 300,000 over the 10-year normal abatement period, and then they would save about 400,000.
The bottom line is, if this was done
Correctly
in the
yeah.
beginning and there were no errors,
Yeah,
it's all gonna come out the same.
it's all going to come out the same.
So,
So it's a wash to fix it.
It's a
And what
wash.
would happen if we didn't fix it?
Personally, I'd feel really bad after what we did to get that building filled, but that's.
Okay, no, I mean,
Not a bad thing.
it's a wash.
But
I understand it's
Phoenix
wash,
has been
but
a
what
great
if we don't
employer here
fix it?
and-
What happens?
What's that?
If we don't fix it, what happens?
They will owe a lot more than the 89,000.
Oh, because they
in
wouldn't
back
have gotten,
taxes.
they wouldn't have gotten the abatement on the original scheme.
Yeah.
That-
Okay.
That's,
They will still have the abatement on the 18.5.
Right.
They would not have
It's
the
not the
abatement on the
7.
we will be
17.59.
clobbering the company for
Mm-hmm.
a mistake, because they would owe the full taxes on what was before. Now that makes sense.
Yeah.
So every year when they filed their tax returns, the county was deducting 18.5 million only. They weren't,
Well, the county didn't pick up some errors in the original return, and so the errors carried forward.
year after year after year.
Yeah, and so when the county did the initial audit over the 2 years, we found the errors. We immediately looked at the following 2 years, realized the errors carried forward. The county then paid to have those 2 years audited, and we realized what all the mistakes were. So hopefully, now that Stacy is actually a new person in her position, not the person who made the errors.
Thank you for pointing that out. I was going to make sure that was made known to the public.
So she has met with the auditors a couple times now and has an understanding of how to take things forward and do it correctly.
Okay.
Stacy, what's the average pay for the workers on the plant floor? Do you know?
Yeah, come on up to the mic here. Yep.
Come on up and,
I can tell you that last time I looked, the average yearly income for each employee is somewhere around $55,000.
are they hourly? Mostly?
They're hourly.
I guess what I was getting at is, you know what the hourly,
The hourly pay is, our lowest rank is our warehouse person that tops out, and that's something that's a requirement to be employed by us, so you have to top out within 2 years, is it's somewhere a little bit over $20. And for the technician, which is our typical biggest job category that has 48 or 49 employees currently, is over $23.
so while, just pointing out to council, while we've talked about living wages, we're talking about a company that is paying well
Well, more than.
Now, their percentage of Putnam County Greencastle employees is a little lower, but we're still contributing a lot more money than, we've seen from most of the other companies in town. So that's a compliment. We as a council have been talking about
And we're
the
doing
importance
some,
of wages.
we're doing some work to open up our doors a little bit more to the local community. That's been a challenge for us in general. We're a highly specialized industry that has a lot of focus on technical abilities, which is why when Sony closed their doors in Vigo County, we did acquire some of those employees from over there because they were already pre-trained and skilled. So they were, it was a very easy, good fit for us, especially in the early days when we were starting up the plant and we needed some of the more talented personnel. It is harder to find those people. However, as we grew and over the last 5-6 years, our training program has improved quite a bit, and Phoenix typically does focus a lot of their energy into developing a very strong training program for employees. So we recently started, we created what we call a utility position with a starting wage of about $15.50. However, it opens the door to the local people who share ideology and culture that's a very good fit for Phoenix Closures, and then we kind of intend to transition them into the next level jobs. So we're kind of slowing things down, but at the same time, in the last, we just added another 4 people, and three out of 4 are from Putnam County.
That's great.
And we do intend on adding an additional 4.
And you've taken an eyesore and turned it into a state-of-the-art facility, and we thank you.
I will say Phoenix has been very gracious when we've brought high school groups through and some teacher groups through, and it's not an easy job for them to do tours. They're a FDA-regulated facility, so you just can't walk on the plant floor. They've got a whole training program that even if you're just a visitor, you have to go through, and but they've been very gracious about speaking to our young people about responsibilities as employees, career opportunities, and things like that.
We try and do it at least once a year. As a matter of fact, that's something that's now being encouraged by our leadership. Our most recent effort is going to be coming about this year, October 5th. We plan, it's National Manufacturing Day, and we're going to have something we're going to send out to you guys if there's local schools that are interested. We're going to try and accommodate, obviously we have to make sure that the floor fits and all that, but so far it's been good. About 2 months ago, we accommodated from local school about 35 or so. It was a homeschooled group, and we enjoyed doing that. It's something that we do have a lot of robotics, a lot of automation, so when we take these students through, it's really nice to kind of open their mind to a different kind of manufacturing.
Well, the superintendent's sitting right back there, so that's the man to make contact with.
Unless the council has other questions, I move that the public hearing be closed.
We need to ask the public real quick if you don't
Yeah,
mind.
gotta ask the
Oh, that's right, we do.
So does any member of the public that's here tonight have any questions or comments? Hearing none,
I'll second Dave's motion.
Okay.
I'll second his motion now.
and is that to close both public hearings, or do we need to do that separately? Okay. So we have a motion to close the public hearing portion of the meeting, and that covers both subject matters. Is there any further questions or discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of closing the public hearing, say aye.
Aye.
Great, thanks. We'll
Thank you
be
very
back
much.
again a little bit later. Okay, next item is department reports. Ernie's back there, and I don't want to steal Stacy's thunder, but I'd like to thank both Stacy and Ernie and their team out there at the cemetery and all the volunteers that put forth the 5K run prior to the Memorial Day service, and we had a really nice service out there. And I think a lot of people had fun, and I'll leave it to Stacy to announce how much money was raised at the cemetery.
Well, once our last sponsor comes in, we'll be right around $3,000. We had about 70 participants, runners and walkers, and then we had about 10 people that just came out to help out. And all indications are, I think we'll go ahead and try to do it next year and maybe make it a regular tradition where we can raise some money to help the cemetery with some much-needed projects.
Hey, Ernie, I was going to bring you up anyway. Do you want to touch briefly on, not only was Memorial Day, you're saying I'm okay now? Okay. Not only was Memorial Day amazing, we've got another nice event coming up July 1st, the rededication. Do you have any information, or you want to just touch on that? And after Memorial Day, you deserve to come up here, because the cemetery just looked beautiful. The event was.
Weather was great.
Weather was great. The event was so meaningful, I know. And it was great to see there were a lot of young kids out there. And I was talking to a couple families, and they said they just wanted their little 8 and 10-year-olds to see the people that had served. And it was fun to see the little kids running around the cemetery, too.
Yeah. Well, I think the run helped bring more people into the cemetery for the service up in the veteran section. So, we've already started improvements up there, so we'll continue with that. And then the rededication of the Civil War Monument, that's going to be July 1st at 2 p.m. And I think they estimate between 5,000 and 10,000 on the first, but we're hoping to get a few hundred anyway. So, but
That was the first time it was dedicated, there was 5,000 to 10,000.
yeah. So hopefully, we'd like to have a good turnout. Everything will be looking nice, and we've got, I think, everything in order to have everything ready. So just come out and be part of it.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ernie. Thanks for the great work out there. Okay, anybody else want to come up? Scott's got a couple things.
I
you
got a
wanna
question
make
for
real quick.
John Burgess.
Oh, John, well, okay.
John, okay. I noticed on the fire inspections this month. Yes. We had 9 violations on the inspections. Violations found, 9 out of 14 violations. Isn't that kind of high?
Not really. On the violations, that can run anywhere from a light bulb and an exit light being burned out to a battery and smoke detector needing replaced. A lot of times, the rotation, it usually takes us around 2 years to make a complete rotation from one end of town to the other. Usually in that 2 years, you accumulate some violations for businesses. So.
Okay, I just saw that looked kind of high. That's why I asked.
Yeah, like I said, most of those, like I said, they're minor violations, but like I said, we have to listen to that as that. And normally, a lot of times they're fixed while Christie's there doing the inspection. Sometimes they're a little bit harder for them to do. They have to get their maintenance people in and take care of them. So.
Steve, they've also probably started, I haven't studied it like you have, and I should have, I apologize, but they've started the rotation of the DePaul living units, and it's almost unheard of for a living unit after a year living to get through an inspection. Christie does I should advise you to one of those units.
Well,
Christie's got amazing eagle eyes. I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah.
Superintendent's nodding his head.
After the school term, yes, we're quite busy over there with some violations. So.
Okay. All right, that was my one.
It's great. She found holes that I think you need magnifying glasses, but she found them, and they're good. It's good. She does a good job. She really does. I'm glad she does what she does.
We've also started a program this month. We're updating all of our pre-plans for all the businesses in the city too.
That's great.
We have a new computer program. Hopefully here in the future, we'll actually be able to put that program to use inside the trucks, onboard computers in the trucks in the future. That way, if we do get calls there, we have all the information at touch of the screen.
Great.
So if you see guys out around town, that's what they're doing. They're getting information on all the businesses. Real quickly, I guess while I'm up here.
Go ahead, if you have something to add, please do.
Coming up next month, 4th of July. So it's that time of year again for fireworks. Okay. Just a friendly word of advice for people out in the city. Please be careful when you're shooting off fireworks. They are dangerous. I won't get into all the details of the state report that the state of Indiana puts out every year. Last year they had over 238 injuries, firework injuries reported. I couldn't find it in the paperwork. It was 16 pages long in the report, and I just got it today, so I apologize. I don't have all the information yet. Of that 238 injuries, people that were injured, there's actually 304 injuries of those 238 people. So some of them had multiple injuries from the fireworks. So please be careful out there when you're firing off fireworks. Just remember, it is illegal for anyone under the age of 18 to purchase or shoot off fireworks. So be careful out there and watch your neighbors' homes and everything when you do shoot them off, so.
Better just go to the park and watch ours.
There you go. 4th of July night, be at Greencastle Royal Bend Park. Sorry, Rod, I'm stealing your thunder up here.
Anybody else have a question for John?
All right,
Thank you.
Thanks, John.
I think Scott wants to come up and say a few words.
Good evening, I'm Scott Zimmerman, City Planner, and I just want to remind City Council and the public that on Monday, June the 25th at 7 p.m., we'll be having a small workshop for the Plan Commission and Board of Zoning Appeals members who care to participate on some zoning code and land use basics. We're using the Citizen Planner Guide available from the Indiana chapter of the American Planning Association. It is available online at indianaplanning.org. Some of the things that we'll be reviewing include reviewing zoning district development standards, allowable uses, and what it takes to apply for special exceptions within some of those districts. So we're basically reviewing some of our zoning code standards so that we can become familiar with them enough that we could recommend modifications as occasions bring that up. We'll also be reviewing the comprehensive plan dating back to, I think, about 2002, and just taking stock of some of the accomplishments with the idea of being able to update that in the not too distant future. So again, I just wanted to invite City Council and the general public to come on Monday, June the 25th, to have an open discussion of our Greencastle zoning code.
What time was that at?
7 p.m.
Here?
Yes.
And as long as you're up here, just real quickly, a reminder, it's kind of the season. If people have issues with the yards and stuff, I'm sure you're getting enough calls.
Yes, and that's why I put that list with the in the city council report. I've had a couple of city council members ask me about specific properties and some of the ongoing communication we're having with those property owners. When property owners contact me, I will work with them. But if we have no communication whatsoever, we do have the responsibility to deal with the issue as provided by City Code.
Thank you.
Scott, while you're up there too, this is good news. So I've had actually 3 people in the last month compliment you as to how good of a job that you've done as city planner and how nice that they found you to work with. So know that you're new in town, and I don't know if it always makes it back to you, but I wanted to let you know that in a public way. So.
Thank you. I do enjoy working with the public. I've found everybody that communicates with me, I'm happy to communicate with them. It's just when nobody gets a hold of me, I have no choice. So.
Right.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks, Scott. Okay, Rod, I know you're always ready to market activities of the Parks Department.
For the benefit of the audience and those behind the camera, I am Rod Weinschenk. I'm the Park and Recreation Director. I want to apologize that I did not get this to you ahead of time. But tonight, time stood still in my office at 6:07. At 7:01, I noticed that I was late for the meeting.
I noticed you came in late. I was kind of hoping. That was intentional, folks.
Oh, that hurt. No. Okay. No, I apologize for coming in late, but the clock stopped at, what did I say, 6:07? But anyway, we've had a busy month at the Park and Recreation Department, as you know, going from spring to summer, or better yet, the winter to summer or spring rains. We've had a lot of activities in the park this past month. We've opened up both the Aquatic Center and the Bob York Splash Park. I do want to remind everybody behind the camera that the phone number for the Greencastle Aquatic Center is 765-848-1909. That's the number one question I get in the office. If you go online and look at the Greencastle Aquatic Center Facebook page, web page, it comes up my office. So that's the number one set of phone calls I get is, what time do you close, what time do you open? So 765-848-1909 is the Greencastle Aquatic Center. All right, I put together a report with a number of photos. Let's start with the band shell. We've had a lot of activity. The band shell construction was going strong up until the last week with all the rains. It has kind of halted progress. We're hoping that they'll be in tomorrow, now that it's starting to dry out. We did have a donation from the Greencastle Civic League, which is pictured there. It's coming together in that. We had Marcy's Tree Service come in and trim the sycamore located directly in the center of the circle. I'm hoping that with it being trimmed up 30 feet that we can see around it, because I'd really hate to take down a tree that's been there longer in the park. So, but anyway, Dixie Chopper, okay, May 30th, I got a phone call on my way back from Indianapolis that we had a problem at Big Walnut Sports Park. Due to the fire department determined it was an electrical issue, we had a Dixie Chopper catch fire. In short, nobody was hurt. The fire was put out by the Greencastle Fire Department. Thank you, John. And the insurance company has been real easy to work with, and they purchased a new Dixie Chopper mower for us to use at Big Walnut, and it is already in service. Mrs. Nora Baker and Baker Septic Services purchased two benches with shelter for Michaela Kinsella Park. With that being a new park, there's very little shade. The trees aren't that old, so the shelters will give us a little bit of shade. On Friday, June 1st, we had an impromptu Model A car show in Roman Park. The Model A group was traveling through town, had planned on eating at Charlie's. I got the call. We put them on the Clearwater addition to Roman Park, which was located directly across from Charlie's. And we had many people stop while the drivers were eating. It was kind of really neat. I threw some photos in there of what the different types of Model A's that there were, and they are pretty classy. Some of these cars are museum appropriate. So, this past weekend we held the Putnam County Swim Team Invitational at the Aquatic Center, Roman Park. I do want to remind everybody that we were lucky enough to draw that tournament. We're the only outdoor 150-meter swimming pool in the county. And we had, I believe there was individuals from 8 different communities. We had over 150 swimmers at the pool this weekend. And then again, with our partnership with the Pacific and Eastern Model Railroading Group, the Putnam County Museum, and the Park and Recreation Department, we have been entertaining and promoting the hobby of model railroading to individuals on the weekends. We've had school tours. Yesterday, I gave a talk to over 48 people from the Gobin Summer Enrichment Program, but the hobby is very fun, and it's just really neat to get into. Not just running trains, but the modeling portion, the artistic portion, the craft portion of putting the buildings and the scenery and all that together. This is the last weekend. The Pacific and Eastern Model Railroad will be at the Putnam County Museum. We'll be there from 10 to 2, and then we put it away for about 6 months. So, and that. I do want to promote that with John Burgess and the Greencastle Fire Department help, we do have the Youth Firefighter Academy coming up. It's offered between Monday and Friday, June 25th through the 29th from 9 to noon. It costs a simple $10 per person, which includes t-shirt, hat, and snacks. It'll be held at Roban Park, and if you would like more information, registration is available at www.greencastleparks.com. We talked about July 4th earlier. We're starting the event, the day, with the Micro Kiki Memorial Road Run, which is a 27th annual 5K run on July 4th. Registration is $20 per person, 25 day of the event. We do have registration available on www.greencastleparks.com. And that's it. So if anybody has any questions.
Rod, with your Fire Academy or
yes.
June 25th through 29th, what age groups are you targeting so the public knows that?
We're targeting middle school age kids entering 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. However, with permission, somebody close to that 1 year before, 1 or 2 years after, we would allow them in if they give us a call and ask, okay? But it sounds really exciting. Police boot camp is going on right now. Tom Sutherland and the Greencastle Police Department are doing the police boot camp. Tomorrow is the final day for that. Their graduation will be held tomorrow. But we have 19 young ones. We have 20 young individuals who are participating in that this year. It's one of the biggest groups we've had. So I'm hoping that the Youth Firefighter Academy is just as attractive to the young individuals and that we can sign up many more. And I would like to close with one comment, going back to July 4th and fireworks. We provide the fireworks in Roban Park late in the evening. We would ask that nobody bring in or volunteer any of theirs from home. If we find them, we're going to confiscate them. We're going to bucket them, throw them in a bucket of water. So please do not bring them to Roban Park before, during, or after July 4th. Thank you.
How many Spark kids do you have this year?
Spark, we registered 189, and we average about 145 a day.
Is that up?
That is about
sounds-
average. It's about
Is
average.
it?
I think
Okay.
last year we hit 200.
Okay.
But yeah, okay.
Tom, how many years is that for the police boot camp? You don't have to come up, but, do you know?
We were discussing that today, and we couldn't think off the top of our head, but we're probably pushing close to 8 to 10 years, I'm gonna guess.
8 to 10 years. That's a great service you all provide. So thank you. Some of those kids might become policemen somewhere at this point.
We hope so.
Yep.
Yep.
Just one quick question.
Yes.
Do you have a PA for the park this year? For the, like, lost children or anything like that, where you can announce it to the crowd or whatever?
We
Like
will
had last year?
We will have the people with the PA at the band shell. We also have WREB. I just took a trip 20 years backwards. WREB will be in the park on that day announcing from the band shell, or the softball concession stand, okay? Yes, so we will do our best to.
Okay.
Yes, just want to remind everybody with that comment that, yes, we do have children in the park. We ask that parents keep track of their children. Okay. All right, any other questions?
Rod, on
Yes.
after reading the article about the band shell,
Yes.
so is the holdup probably with Department of Homeland Security?
No.
Or is it gonna, is the band shell really not gonna be ready, probably?
Okay. The band shell at this time will probably not, I'm going to say it will not be ready for the July 4th celebration, okay? However, we met with individuals, which included Homeland Security, the fire marshal, the local building inspector, Pat Thibodeau, Christy Miller with the safety department, and our engineer. We believe that we can use the floor with a temporary structure for shelter. The band that we're hiring to entertain everybody that evening requests shelter. So with certain steps, we're hoping with, and me filing an entertainment permit with the state of Indiana through the Homeland Security Office, that we'll be able to use the band shelter floor with temporary shelter for the band. Now the holdup is we have a group in town that is volunteering wood for the project. Okay, there's a business in town that is a sawmill, and they are donating wood. I believe what it is, it's the size of timbers we're using and the fact that they need to be kiln dried. They were cut fresh, now they're being kiln dried, and they're not going to be dry by that time. And then, of course, with construction and that. I went online and saw the Bannergraphic article too, and with some of the comments I've read behind it, I'm kind of appalled at some of the citizens that we have here in Greencastle with a project like that. Yes, it is a municipal project. It's a volunteer project through Friends of the Park, and of course, we have many businesses volunteering or donating at a discount a lot of the supplies for this. So we're at Mother Nature's whim. It was moving fine until up to these last few storms and that, but yes, no, it will not be done, but I think it's going to be worth the wait, and I think it's going to be very beautiful when it is completed.
Okay. That sure helped clear up a lot of things, I think maybe that.
The timbers are pretty good size. They're
Yes.
not a household 2x4.
Right,
They take
exactly,
extra-
or 4x4s
extra
or
time
6x6s
to
even.
kiln, to run through the kiln. And I have to say, as Rod said, this is truly a community project. We do have some city funds in it, but there's been a lot of people around the community that have donated funds, time, material, volunteer hours, and things like that. So we appreciate that support out in the community.
So we're going to have a very nice facility and what would have cost a whole lot more than what it's going to cost.
A whole lot more than what it actually will cost. But the inspiration for local citizens, if they're familiar with the local covered bridges, that is the inspiration for the shelter. And if you've walked through or driven through some of those, you realize that the timbers are not, like Bill said, they're not 2x4, they're not 2x10s. These are good-sized timbers that will be holding up the structure.
Are they gonna be burr arches?
It'll have curves. I don't know if
It'll have
arch
some-
would be the word,
We'll
but
have some
yes.
knee braces that
Yeah.
that will have some
Yeah.
artistic
So it's gonna
effect.
resemble the inside of a covered bridge, so, yeah.
What?
All right.
Yep.
So, thank you. Any other questions? Then thank you. Have a good night.
Any other department head? Any questions for any other department head?
Tom, you don't have to come up, but I want to talk about the Greencastle Police Department. This past weekend was Special Olympics, and we had about 60 local participants, and the Greencastle Police Department assisted in sending them off, the athletes who were heading to Terre Haute, which I thought was fantastic. They escorted 11 vehicles total out of the city en route to Terre Haute, so that was good stuff, and I just really appreciate it.
Thank you, Tom. I also hear you're pretty good at looking for lost dogs for your neighbors, so congratulations on that, too. He's just waiting. Facebook.
Any other questions for our department heads? Okay, hearing none, we'll move into other reports. I'll try to make mine real quick, but I did want to thank Tom and John and our other public safety partners across the county. On Saturday, we had an exercise that they planned out relative to school safety. Put one of our firefighters, one of our police officers, and our school superintendent in the hot seat for about a half an hour. Stacy and I were able to observe, and they ran the scenario for all 4 school districts, and a lot of good discussion, a lot of good learning, and the teams put a lot of work in behind the scenes to make it a successful Saturday morning. So those are the kind of things that are going on behind the scenes. They don't get a lot of publicity, but it's a lot of work to help make our citizens and our schools and institutions safe around the county. A couple of upcoming things. Touch a Truck is this weekend at Greencastle High School. Several of our city departments are participating in that. Area 30 Career Center is sponsoring a Next Level Jobs workshop on Thursday, June 28th from 6 to 7:30 p.m. This is an opportunity for folks to potentially obtain some financial support to pursue a certification or even an associate's degree. We talked about Celebrate 4. We've got a number of projects in the works. I will be meeting with the new Y director and their building committee on the evening of June 20th to continue our efforts with the community center project. The Locust Street project, which is several years out, NDOT has the request for qualifications out for engineering services. Those are due back sometime next week, so several folks will be reviewing those qualifications, and that will allow us to get started to enter into a contract to start the engineering work on that project. Utilities, they've been, as you can see in their report, they've been doing a lot of work. I will say that during the storm on Sunday, we had a power failure at the water plant. Our generators kicked on. Duke Energy responded. Unfortunately, it took them a while because of where the break was to repair that, but we were on generator power for a little over 24 hours. We know we have an undersized generator there, but by carefully managing the pumps and switching things on and off, they were able to maintain service to the community with no interruption whatsoever. So they did a great job. It took a little extra effort on our water department staff, but they did do a very nice job. We are having some conversations with Duke Energy to see if there's some things that can be done to upgrade, improve the power situation there. But we've also been having conversations internally about how do we purchase a larger generator out there. That's going to be about a $500,000 investment. So we've been saving up some money and be moving forward with that in the near future here. Other than that, just, the other big utility project is, we'll have a draft report in on the IBM lift station to Board of Works later this month. That lift station is in need of some repair because that's the lift station that receives all the effluent from the town of Fillmore. So he's doing some work on that to keep it in good shape. And then lastly, we continue to talk to housing developers. And then Whispering Winds, 24 of the 50 lots have been spoken for. And I think Pat told me that the developer was in for another couple of building permits for 2 new houses. If you haven't been out that way, I would encourage you to take a drive through. It's quite a bit different than it was 6 months ago. So with that, I'll entertain any questions or anything.
I had a couple of questions about the South Jackson Street, the railroad crossing. What's the status?
The status is they were putting the finishing touches on our part of the project today.
Cool.
So if you drive down there, they were putting the stripes down, things like that. And then we're still doing some negotiations with the railroad, but I think after the work is done, we may not have to do too much.
Good deal.
Fifth Street's about done, right?
The
Fifth and D.
They may be getting pretty close with the cement work, but they'll come back and then we still have to do the paving yet. But
Okay,
we've
'cause
improved
It looked
quite
like
a
the
bit.
curbing was all in.
Yeah, they were doing still some radiuses at the corners and things when I was out there the other day. So they're pretty close. So, and then they'll be starting on Walnut Street probably here in the next week. So, other questions? Okay, Linda?
Well, Sue and I went to the State Board of Accounts called meeting and DLGF workshop. So we learned that by December 31st, DLGF has to have our 1782s to us. So that means that by the end of the year, they will have our budgets approved. Like 2 months after we approve them here, so
It's better.
that's huge. That's huge.
That's big.
I mean, basically this year we had them by about the middle of January, so, but that's the new state statute. And the nice thing is they really didn't ask us to speed up our time much, but, you know, as soon as we can. So Bill and I are gonna start working with department heads for that. We also found out that, every month we are going to have to submit a certain amount of documentations to the State Board of Accounts because they're going to be doing desk audits instead of coming out and visiting us a whole lot on a regular basis. So we will have to send our bank reconciliations, our fund reports, all of our minutes to all of our meetings. So that's redevelopment minutes, Board of Works minutes, council minutes, any zoning things that come up, we're gonna have to get park board minutes, cemetery minutes, all of those will have to be submitted to the State Board of Accounts every month, so that's kind of a new requirement, so.
Will they charge us less?
I hope so. I'm kind of wondering how they're gonna bill us for our desk audits, so I don't know. They didn't really talk about the structure fee. So I'm assuming what they did last year was, or the year before when we had our audit, they billed us out of our property tax at the courthouse.
That's right, yeah.
So that was kind of different, but it's not the way I would have billed us, but.
They don't trust the local units of government to pay them.
I guess, so they're gonna take it out of
Gonna
property
withhold
tax.
it like taxes.
Withholding it, so, but those were kind of the main changes that
They'll still have to come out and actually do some auditing here, won't
they're
they?
gonna come out and do some auditing, but they will review what I send in to them to see if we pose any huge risk. So if all of a sudden, they saw something weird, or what they're gonna have different risk assessments. If they thought there was something, then they would be out here right away, but I imagine they'll come out every 4 years instead of.
Good.
They used to come
Yeah.
out every year, every other year.
Last time it was 4 years. Mhm.
I missed those end of the audit reports, not at all.
So I think, which would be no problem, because, we have our stuff.
We've done really
monthly
well.
Anyway, so.
Yeah.
We'll just, It's all gonna be connected to Gateway, so we'll just send it in through Gateway.
Yep.
We might save money on the audit, but we're probably gonna have to hire a part-time person just to scan things and
Yeah,
send them
scan-
in.
yeah.
That's becoming a full-time job.
Yeah, that'll be but we have also, we have a new, system, Laserfish, that we're gonna start, our department heads are gonna get more involved with, so it's gonna be, and what Laserfish does is it takes care of a lot of our storage, document storage, so we don't have as much paper laying around, so we can get rid of stuff earlier. And so, the department heads should be able to just Laserfish that over to us, like their board reports and stuff like that, and we'll just have them on permanent file, and we'll just be able to pull them off and send them to them, so.
Great.
So I guess that's all I have.
Council reports?
Lori? I don't have much.
On Indianapolis Road.
Pardon me?
I think we'll have our second appraisals on
Okay.
Indianapolis Road next week, I think.
The only thing I have is I know there's been an email or two with council about encouraging more people to live here in town, with especially upper management, et cetera, in the area businesses. The mayor and I have talked a few times about the lack of housing. The number that stuck out in my head, and correct me if I'm wrong, Bill, in all of Putnam County, there were 108 total houses at all price points, foreclosures available. That was it. That is not much. I asked the mayor if next month he could kind of give us an overview of what actions, and there are a few that council could take to try to encourage more housing development within the city. We talked through a few, but I think giving him a month to kind of pull some of that together, not aimed at specific businesses, but what can we do as a council to encourage more houses to be built, which then encourage more people to live here versus losing a lot of people to other communities. So anyway, that's where we're at. 108 is not very many units within all of Putnam County. So that's what I got.
I think 5 houses in the city a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, I mean, I know.
Somebody who was looking will do that, I don't know.
I work in it could be. I work in a department that has reasonable turnover at the university, and they are all the new hires are in my office struggling to find houses, rentals, and if you have a dog and you want to rent, it's really tough.
And it's, from what I understand, you know, whenever you're talking about management for, say, a factory or administration position at DePaul or whatever, you're talking about higher income people, and they're not looking for your average
there's that.
$100,000 home. They're looking for $300,000 to $500,000 homes.
That's true, but the people in my office are looking for your.
They were looking for the 100, 150.
Yeah.
It's at all price points.
Yeah.
It's
We
all
are
price
having,
points, yeah.
Right.
When you have maybe 5 or 10 houses in the city and 108 in the county, you don't have much at any price point available. So
Well-
the mayor will get back to us on that.
Education
we've been
administration, really
actively-
where all the money's at.
Yeah, we've been actively talking to some developers, but, you know, we're keeping those conversations going.
We'll talk in July.
Yeah, I imagine that probably will will have to, if we're gonna look at really building, trying to get some houses built, we're probably gonna have to look at annexation, because there's not a lot of empty ground within the city limits.
Apparently, and I don't want to get ahead of ourselves, apparently you're right, but there is more available kind of scattered lots in the city than I think we realized. It's just a matter of how do we incentivize doing that to get that infill going again. So
Yeah.
aware of it, and we're talking about it. It'll involve money, as it usually does.
Yeah.
Stacy?
I have nothing.
I have nothing.
Nothing.
Not that I can think of.
Nothing.
The only thing I want to say is, and it's a comment that Rod made, that he's appalled by what's being said online. I don't go on there for that very reason. But when I look at this packet, and I look at all the people and all the money that have been put into the band shell, that he would be appalled by people in our community who would be critical of what's going on, that really, really bothers me. This city has tremendous momentum. And if you can't get on board with it, just please be quiet. That's all I have.
Okay. Thank you. The next item of business is the approval of minutes of our regular session of May 10th, 2018. And somebody did call in with a very, very modest typo that has been corrected in the signature copy, so
I'll move to adopt the minutes of our regular meeting.
Second.
we have a motion and a second to adopt the minutes as presented with the minor correction taking place. Any further questions or discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Next item of business is
And I
approval.
abstain, just FYI,
Oh,
since I wasn't.
okay.
Do we need to approve the special session minutes?
No, they'll be next month.
Okay, sorry. Thank you.
And next item of business is approval of city claims. Mr. Hammer?
I have reviewed those. The totals for payroll for last month, $427,433.33. Regular accounts payable, $186,952.15. Pensions, $15,065.46. Direct accounts payable, $113,323.55, for a grand total of $742,774.49. On the direct accounts payable, we have mower zone for a cemetery mower for $7,300. Payment for the farmer's market to support that to the Chamber of Commerce for $4,500. We've got some payment to both to Joe Spiker at Excavating as well as Indiana Quarries and Carvers. The total about $30,000, a little over $30,000 for the band shell and Roban Park drainage, which is attributable to the band shell project, I believe. Under the redevelopment, we've got civil engineering of $13,842.50, and we've got South Street Lockmuller Group for $3,296. The rest of them, $53,100 utility payments and just regular, normal monthly payments. Under the regular accounts payable, we've got a payment for stormwater planning grant for $13,455. We have some more Roban Park improvements to both Earth Exploration and Energy Harness Corporation. That totals about $12,500. And some street materials for $3,751, plus another $4,496 to two different vendors. Humphreys, we have a mower purchase. This maybe probably that's the fire one for $9,352. Among their total was $11,077. So there's many other repair bills and what have you. Another Joe Spiker Excavating for miscellaneous disbursement for just under $8,000. Don't really know what it's for. Just said miscellaneous disbursement, if you recall. $7,976 to Joe Spiker, and it just says miscellaneous disbursement.
Is it for the park? Part of the drainage for the park maybe?
I can look here.
Okay, all right. Must have had a KDC body shop for $11,957, so must have been something. KDC for almost $12,000.
To repair one of the fire trucks.
Okay, yeah, I knew it had to be something major. Marcy's Tree Service, trees and landscape removal, that's probably what Rod was referring to, I suppose, for $5,150 for some of the and there may have been some other trees removed around the city. Friends of the Park Association, $9,000 for our annual People Pathways support check. And Spear Corporation, it's that time of year, $5,336 for pool chemicals. And I think that was it of the major items. So I would move for approval of the, after that long drawn out, I'll move for approval of the claims as presented.
I know Ernie has left, but I know the mower zone.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I kind of question that one just because we've got at least three mower repair companies here in Greencastle, and why did we go to Danville?
That's a good question.
Yeah, he gets quotes.
Yeah, low quote, lowest is best when it's government.
I think we're required to get quotes, probably.
Yeah, we are.
Yeah.
He had 3 quotes for his
Okay.
lawnmower, and that was probably for,
He always does.
he bought 2 lawnmowers.
And did he trade some in?
Well, what we ended up doing was, he had 2 really good lawnmowers that he was trading in. So the sewage department and the wastewater and the water department needed new lawnmowers, so he got the estimates on what the trade-in was. The water and wastewater purchased Ernie's and then purchased them. We bought them, the cemetery got the money for that, and then they purchased their two from that. So the city took advantage of purchasing the lawnmower because they don't use lawnmowers quite as much out of the water and wastewater for their daily. So we used, kind of traded out.
Do you want to look up that one
I
claim?
have it
and-
here.
Yep.
Oh, okay.
So.
Yes, I'm sorry.
It is for the north-south alley between Washington and Franklin Street, Vine in Indiana.
That's behind Bridges in there.
Okay.
And-
Oh, okay, yes, yeah, there's been a lot of work going on over
Yeah,
there.
and
Yeah.
that was actually in partnership. The Greens paid a third of it, we paid a third,
Yes.
and then I believe DePaul paid a third for this portion behind Music on the Square.
Okay.
So we did quite a bit of drainage improvement there, did some other sewer work, and then also repaved the alley to better the drainage and make it safer in the wintertime.
We paid a third on
A
it.
third, yes.
We only paid a
down
third,
now. It used
so.
to be a mess, but. It looks great. Yeah, it's really nice up there now.
Yeah.
So that was a third of our bill. So it's paid in full by us.
Okay, all right. Thanks for that explanation.
So we have a motion and a second to approve the claims. Any further questions or discussion? Hearing none, please signify your approval with saying aye.
Aye.
We have no old business, new business. The first item of business is the Greencastle Economic Development Area Tax Increment Request for 2018, pay 2019. The Redevelopment Commission met the other evening and recommended capture a reservation of $125 million in assessed value for TIF for 2018, pay 19. You have a draft letter in your packet. Values have not been rolled yet, so we have not been able to complete the TIF neutralization study. If there are any significant issues with the AV, we can bring that back to both the Redevelopment Commission and the Council for consideration. At this stage, the Redevelopment Commission has made their recommendation, and I would concur with that recommendation. And then also, new this year, state law requires the Redevelopment Commission to meet with each taxing unit to review TIF plans and impacts. I plan on engaging a financial firm to assist with complying with this new law. The law goes into effect on July 1st, 2018, so we'll have some additional responsibilities for the Redevelopment Commission moving forward.
What percentage of the maximum is the 120?
We will be, again, not knowing, where we are, whether AVs have gone up or down, but based on kind of last year's, we'll be passing through about 20 to 25 million if we take the 125.
What's the percentage maximum we can do?
You can take all of it if you want.
And how much is all of it?
Be roughly 145 to 150 million.
What did Dave say?
My quick math is it's a little over 80%.
Okay, thank you. That's the answer I wanted.
Got it 83.
83. All right.
I don't know why I didn't use my phone.
My recollection is not always perfect, is that we started at about 50, and we were pushing it up all the time, and my understanding was we were going to do 125 last year, or this year, and then we were going to do 100% the following year. So, this looks like a lateral move from what we planned on doing.
Well, I can't recall whether we were going to go up to 100 or not myself. I apologize for that. Had we received the full 125 this year, it would be a lateral move. It's actually an increase because we did not receive the full 125, and I'll explain that after we discuss this item.
Maybe we need.
What's that?
Maybe we need to fold that into this discussion.
Okay, I'll be happy to
I
explain.
think it makes, because I think what Gary's getting at, it doesn't make sense, because it is a lateral move, but it's really not a lateral move because we need to
But
get.
everybody planned it as,
Yes.
yes,
Yes,
as
but not-
125.
Yeah, but what happened was not one.
I know what happened,
But I think we need to go.
Well, okay, for 2017, pay 2018, council upped the AV reserve for TIF from 100 million to 125 million. We submitted the proper paperwork to the courthouse. An error at the courthouse resulted in only $100 million being reserved. This will still generate about $2.8 million for projects as opposed to an expected of about $3.7 million. So we're not going to get as much as we thought. The error could be corrected. However, it'd be my recommendation that we not correct the error because it would have an adverse impact on some of the other taxing units because the tax rate has already been set. I would propose that, you know, if we, regardless of what the decision is made today, to go 2018, 2019, that with some of these new requirements for TIF, that we do a work session a little bit later in the summer, once we have AVs and things, go over the numbers once more. And then Linda also has some budget information that she would like to share with council once some of that information is received from the state. So we will have further opportunity to discuss this, but you know, the recommendation from the RDC is 125 million, and but you guys are, you know, have sort of opportunity to change that.
I agree with Gary about raising it to the maximum for a couple of reasons. So one, I think knowing that we didn't get the full allotment if we had planned last year, that's $700,000 we can never get back, right? And that, on the one hand, pardon me? $900,000 we can never get back, right? Not great on that side of things. The second way, you know, we've talked about trying to pull together as many resources as the city can to try and make improvements to things in the city of Greencastle. We raised registration fees and wheel taxes, though that we didn't get it to count all the way on that either from this past year due to an error at the state. So we have a hard time getting by as it is. We have levels of government above us that haven't helped us out a lot, but we still have money on the table that we could capture that we don't. And I feel pretty strongly, and I think we've been responsible in terms of kind of phasing this in, but I see no reason why we shouldn't take the full capture that we're entitled to take.
Just to play the devil's advocate, and I don't fully understand this, and I'm not going to pretend to, and after 12 years I look to Mark a lot, so I hope you do understand it. I mean, we were worried about raising the wheel tax, and some people voted no to that because we did not want to hit people with fixed incomes. If we take this to 100%, is that not then going to raise people's?
No.
No.
There'll be no increase in anyone's taxes?
No.
Anyway.
Capture,
No.
because it gets passed through.
Okay, right?
Yeah.
No one's going to see
Doesn't
me.
raise anything a dime.
Yes.
No one's assessed value, nothing's going up for this. I just want to be
Well-
clear.
We want the assessed value to go up.
We want the assessed value to go up.
Right, but no one's tax
It
rate.
only affects property tax.
It-
Right, and
It will
just
cost-
take Gary Lemon, for example. Gary Lemon will not pay one more penny, right? Just a typical, if we go to 100%.
So, but the people that will then lose some money would be,
Yeah, we've gone through the math last year.
Right, okay.
And it's minimal.
well, I mean, but I voted for this last, and I just want to be clear because,
The complication is that the tax rate will go up, but because of the caps, the average property owner probably won't see any increase.
okay.
There may be some cap losses to capital projects funds, operating funds. You know, that's just going to depend on where the AV comes out, and where the rate comes out, if there'll be any
Probably going
1%,
to.
2% or 3%
If we're
loss.
capturing more and generating more revenue for RDC, the benefits would outweigh any of the
Potentially,
detriments, probably.
Potentially.
It was, I'm gonna say a number now, but it was staggering. It's like 5-1 or something.
Yeah. Okay.
It's just like, whoa. I mean,
When we looked at this last year, the only substantial loss, they were pretty small amounts across the board, other than the school system's capital fund. And the council made it very clear, at least at that time, that we would work with Dr. Hubble and their staff to say, okay, with these additional funds, are there ways in which we can do things that are allowable under TIF
Okay.
to help the school system?
Yeah, like we'll be working with the schools on the driveway at the middle school as part of our sidewalk project, for example.
That's fine. I just want to hear it.
in the time I've been doing this, we've never said no to something we could do for the school district, right? Right, I mean, the road in
We're
front
pretty
of
rare
the
at
school
saying-
district
Right.
We don't say no to many people who ask us for help, which
I
is
said
good.
no to you when you said to raise my taxes.
Very firmly.
Are you trying to raise your penny business, raising taxes?
The thing that I'm looking at is, and I'm looking at this from a different perspective. We're bringing, this is the second issue
Okay.
before us tonight where we're having to correct somebody else's mistake.
Yep.
And particularly, I don't like that. I mean, they're coming to us, and I understand errors are made. But it seems like, it seems like it seems like almost every month, and maybe I'm over dramatizing it, but it seems like every month, somebody's coming to us, they made a mistake, well, can you help us out here? And, you know, accountability. So anyway, I'm kind of in agreement with Gary.
Okay. And actually, Steve, it's the third time in the last 3 months we've dealt with a major mistake costing us money that we did not make. The wheel tax, this. Yeah. Okay.
We're doing our jobs.
So-
And Linda and Lori are doing their jobs, and somebody else makes a mistake, and, oh, Greencastle, can you bail us out? Well, Greencastle is, we're trying to pave our own streets, fix our own curbs, and it's, somebody better be responsible for their own actions.
Well, that's not going to happen above us. You have a motion, Gary?
Well, I'm trying to think, I'm looking at the lawyer. I would like to move that we approve the economic development tax incentive request at 100% of what we can do.
Amend it to 100.
Amend it, yes.
Okay, we have a motion, do we have a second?
Can we do it that way?
Yep.
We don't have to redo
Yeah,
it.
actually, by default, if we didn't do anything, by default, we have the right to get 100%.
Okay. We have a second. We're good. We just need a vote.
We have a motion and a second to increase the reservation for tax increment from 125 million to 100% of available increment. And just for information, that will be determined by the TIF neutralization study. So any further questions or discussions?
Any comments from the audience? Let's do it.
Hearing none, please signify your approval by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, we will modify the letter, and by statute, those letters have to be delivered tomorrow, so I'll be running around to all our fellow taxing units to deliver those letters.
Before we do the school board appointment, do we want to flip? I know Phoenix Closures is set through half a meeting. Do we want to flip and let them go first?
Sure.
And sir, I don't know if you're here for something special, but if there was something you wanted us to flip up, just tell us. Okay.
Yes, I do have something to say,
Okay.
if I can right now.
Normally we do that under public petitions.
What were
What topic were you trying to deal with, sir?
Well, just brought up roads, I have something to say about the streets and roads.
Oh.
Okay, that should have been done.
Under
at the
public-
very-
Yeah, you could have done that at the very
You
beginning.
could have done that at the beginning.
We'll let you do it at the end.
Yeah, you wouldn't have had a.
How about let us
second.
get the, but we will bring you up here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry.
Switching order slightly, we'll do Resolution 2018-6, a resolution to waive noncompliance under Rule 4 of Article 10 of Title 50 of the Indiana Administrative Code as requested by Phoenix Closures, Inc. Whereas Phoenix Closures, Inc. made a substantial investment in new equipment at their facility located at 2000 South Jackson Street that significantly exceeded their estimated investment amount described in their original statement of benefits form. And whereas a mezzanine was included in the overall project investment has been determined to be personal property rather than real property under the assessment rules of the state of Indiana. And whereas said company desires to correct errors in their request for an economic revitalization area deduction, also known as personal property tax abatement phase-in for this investment. And whereas Rule 4 of Article 10 of Title 50 of the Indiana Administrative Code provides a means for the Common Council to correct procedural problems such as failure to submit a completed statement of benefits form prior to the initiation of the redevelopment of an area for which a company desires to claim an economic revitalization area deduction. And whereas on June 14th, 2018, the Common Council conducted a public hearing as required by 50 IAC 10-4-1C after providing public notice of the hearing. Now therefore be it resolved that the Common Council of the City of Greencastle, Indiana finds that the requirements of Rule 4 have been met and waives noncompliance with the following. 1, failure to submit a statement of benefits form prior to the initiation of the redevelopment of an area for which a company desires to claim an economic revitalization area deduction. And 2, failure to submit the completed statement of benefits form to the designated body before the initiation of the redevelopment or rehabilitation or before the installation of new manufacturing equipment and/or research and development equipment for which the person desires to claim an economic revitalization area deduction. Be it further resolved that after passage of this resolution, the Common Council may consider a request for an economic revitalization area deduction increase by Phoenix Closures, Inc., and that the Common Council may approve an amended statement of benefits form to provide for such a deduction. Passed and resolved by the Common Council of the City of Greencastle at its regular meeting this 14th day of June 2018 with proper signature lines.
I'll move to adopt this with the rationale being that had we known this at the front end, with our council history, we would have approved this as an additional abatement at that time. So while it is unfortunate the mistake was made, we would have approved this at that time. From all intents and purposes, Phoenix Closure did nothing malicious to us. They have been a good partner in our city from what I can tell.
I second.
Thank you.
Yeah, yours.
Question?
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Wait a minute.
Steve had a question.
Steve had a question.
I want to make sure I understand this correctly, though. This thing will be a wash. We're not losing any money on this.
No.
No cash flow, no negative cash flow for the
No,
city.
no rebates, no
Right.
refunds.
Okay, that was
Yeah.
what I wanted to be sure of.
We're actually probably going to get a little bit more money once they write the check for 89 grand.
Yeah.
So,
Okay, any further questions? Hearing none, please signify your approval of adoption of Resolution 2018-6 by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay. Next is, coming around with signature copies. Next is Resolution number 2018-7, a resolution amending Resolution 2011-35 to increase the maximum value of equipment eligible for tax abatement granted to Phoenix Closures, Inc. Whereas Phoenix Closures, Inc. was granted tax abatement on new equipment with passage of Resolution 2011-35 on November 15, 2011, and whereas Phoenix Closures, Inc. made a substantial investment in new equipment at their facility located at 2000 South Jackson Street that significantly exceeded their estimated investment described in the original statement of benefits form, and whereas a mezzanine was included in the overall project investment and has been determined to be personal property rather than real property under the assessment rules of the state of Indiana, and whereas said company desires to correct errors in their request for an economic revitalization area deduction, also known as personal property tax abatement phase-in for this investment, and whereas Phoenix Closures now comes before the Common Council to amend their statement of benefits to increase the investment eligible for personal property tax abatement from $18.5 million to $26,590,130, and whereas a revised statement of benefits form for personal property has been submitted to the Common Council on June 4, 2018, and that such statement of benefits form is attached hereto and marked Exhibit A. And whereas the Common Council of the City of Greencastle passed Resolution 2011-13 on July 12, 2011, and Resolution 2011-35 on November 15, 2011, and advertised for a public hearing for June 14, 2018 to consider this request. And whereas on June 14, 2018, the Common Council conducted a public hearing to determine if the request for said tax deduction met the requirements of 50 IAC 10-4-1-C. And whereas on June 14th, the Common Council passed Resolution 2018-6 finding that said requirements of 50 IAC 10-4-1C had been met. And whereas the Common Council of the City of Greencastle, pursuant to the laws of the state of Indiana, does now hereby find that Phoenix Closures request to amend their statement of benefits to be reasonable. Therefore, the Common Council of the City of Greencastle recommends and approves the request for the following. One, that the proposed investment eligible for abatement be increased from a total of $18.5 million to $26,590,130 for personal property. That the other findings, recommendations, and approvals of Resolution 2011-35 are confirmed and shall remain in effect. That the 10-year abatement schedule included in Resolution 2011-35 shall apply to the increased manufacturing equipment investment described in this resolution. As a result of changes in IC 6-1.1-12.1 since 2012, the Common Council restates that the percentage to be used in calculating the deduction shall be as follows. First year of deduction, 100%, and then decreasing by 10% for each year for the next 10 years. 11th year and beyond, 0%. These percentages reflect the abatement schedule in effect on November 15, 2011, at the time the approval of the original abatement request. Passed and resolved by the Common Council of the City of Greencastle at a regular meeting this 14th day of June 2018 with proper signature lines and the attached revised statement of benefits.
Make a motion that we pass Resolution 2018-7, resolution amending Resolution 2011-35 to increase maximum value of equipment eligible for tax abatement granted to Phoenix closures.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adopt Resolution 2018-7. Do we have any further questions or discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of adopting a resolution, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, we'll send around signature copies.
Council, at the end of the meeting, before we do it, I know we'll probably do a quick adjournment. We might have one other resolution we need to adopt tonight, so maybe if we hold off on any quick adjournment. You need that letter. You need a letter.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry.
So there's one item that's not on the agenda that deals
Think I
with.
might jump the gun?
Gary, I know you will jump the gun.
Do we want to
Yes.
entertain, sir, if you'd come forward with your street information and,
He told me we need a letter.
yeah, I'll go over the letter here.
Sir, just so you know, in the future, you're always, and people in the public petitions and comments at the start of the meeting, you're always welcome to. That way you don't have to enjoy the whole meeting.
I don't mind, wanted to hang out. Joe Garrison, Greencastle.
Enjoy, suffer.
No, and could you give your name, please?
Joe Garrison, Greencastle. And I don't have enough copies for everybody, so if you could.
Well, Mr. Garrison, I think I understand what you're going to be talking about. This is on Bloomington Street?
Yes.
And this is near Seminary?
Seminary, yeah, somewhere around there.
I don't want to cut you off because I'm concerned about these things too.
Okay.
But unfortunately, that part of Bloomington Street is state highway.
State highway,
So if you would like to put your concerns in an email to me, I will forward that to
Okay.
NDOT on your behalf.
Okay.
And if you can include the pictures that you have here on,
There's some local roads on the
yeah,
back also.
yeah, North Jackson Street is also state highway.
Okay.
North Indiana Street, we'll take a look at that one
Okay.
for you. And then Indianapolis Road by McDonald's is part of the Indianapolis Road project, so that'll be worked on later this year.
Okay. Well, my main concern was the tar pit.
Yeah.
Was I was riding my motorcycle when it was really hot out.
Yeah,
And my front wheel almost went out from under me, and I just about hit the curb.
Yeah.
So I took my truck to go over and take a couple pictures, and you can see my tire marks when I went through it. That's how bad it was.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
And I brought a temperature gauge to see just how hot it was, but incoming traffic was kind of kept me from doing that. But while I was there, another motorcyclist happened to be coming by, and I saw his whole bike do another turn. So if I know this is a state highway, but if there's anyone that can help push for this, because I just about wiped out and saw another motorcyclist just about wiped out.
If you would, here's my card, and if you would put your concerns in an email to me, I will forward that immediately after I get it to the district director at NDOT.
Okay.
And hopefully they'll be able to help us out on that.
Okay.
But thank you very much for bringing that concern.
When he's written them before, we have.
Sorry we had to make you wait.
Oh, I wanted to sit through it anyway, it's all right.
When he's written them before on a couple of things I've sent to him, they have listened, so hopefully.
NDOT's been pretty responsive lately, so.
Okay, all right, thanks.
Yeah, and we do appreciate you bringing it to our attention, because I, for example, don't have a motorcycle, so I wouldn't be aware of the problem. So thank you very much. Okay.
Phoenix Closure's welcome to leave too.
Yeah, you guys can. And, thanks for coming down from Chicago, Stacy.
Thank you very much. We can get you copies of the signed, we can get you copies of the signed documents.
Yeah, we'll get you copies. Thank you very much. Do we want to do school board, or do you want me to do the?
Let's just do, put off the school board till the end. We need to do a letter. She will
One of the
explain it.
things, if it's, because of the error that was done with the, this year's TIF, if people are satisfied that we just stick with the 100 million, we could make a correction, but it's a very difficult correction to make. And it would cause some problems for not only us, but our other taxing units, because the tax rate has been set. If you would authorize me to send a letter to the county auditor saying that we're okay, well, I mean, we're not okay, but we're in agreement that the error is too difficult to correct at this point in time, and we'll accept what we've received.
We would have to go in and take the money away, is what the mayor's trying to politely say. And I, for one, don't have the stomach to go take the money away from government agencies that thought they had that money.
Do you need a motion on that, Bill?
Yes.
Yeah, why don't we go ahead and do a motion so it
I
shows
move
up
that
in
the
the
mayor be
record.
instructed to inform the county that we do not want to correct the mistake that was made.
Second.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
There we go. You got your letter.
I'm abstain.
Okay. One abstention, one abstention. Now.
Okay.
So Dave made the motion.
Gary
Gary
seconded.
Second.
All of them were ayes except for Steve abstained.
No problem.
6-0 what?
Okay. So we're moving on to the school board.
I'll turn the meeting over to Adam. This is a council appointment.
Moving to a council appointment. Obviously, I was not here. I thank Mark for running the meetings. I hear they were great. One point of clarification, I'm going to look at Lori just to make sure we have this right. Since there are 7 of us here, it would take 4 affirmative votes to put somebody into the school board. I realize there might be some abstentions here as the night goes on, and I just want to be clear, it'll take 4 affirmative votes to do it. The way we've done this before is we've kind of opened the discussion and somebody's put a name out. We discuss that name, vote up or down at that point. I'm open just to free-for-all discussion if you want, but it seems like before, when we've at least put a name forward, it's worked.
Mention our 3 candidates.
Our 3 candidates are Lisa McCoy, Val Rudolph, and Lisa Lazar, who is the current member of the school board. All 3 of them, from what I was told, and I know all 3 of them very well personally, are very good people, and as I think we all want to say now before we begin, we are so thankful that people are putting their names out right now. Some of us who've been here a while can remember when we were having to beat the bushes to find anybody willing to do this, and to have 3 people in our community come forward, one of whom has served for us. That's a great, great thing.
And sitting through all 3 interviews, I feel all 3 were capable.
They are.
We had 3 good candidates and 3, I mean, it's gonna be a tough decision to make.
And I should point out all 3 candidates are friends. Kind of on a side note, all 3 of them have kids around the same age, and from what I've been told by them, are all reasonably good friends. So I'm sure we'll keep our discussions in the same vein.
I would now like to nominate Lisa McCoy for the position. I would nominate.
nominated.
I'm now nominating Lisa McCoy for the position.
It would need a second, then we can have discussion, yay or nay.
I'll second.
Okay. So I will open that up to discussion.
The, coming into the process, I didn't have any preconceived notions at all. I felt like we were probably heading towards probably reappointing whoever we had because they'd served 1 term and everything else. But after I was sitting through the interviews, each of the 3 candidates had their own skill sets and interviewed differently, but they were very good. But I really believe that Lisa McCoy would probably rose to the top.
I came in thinking, quite frankly, that we needed a change. And I didn't know, outside of shaking hands with Lisa McCoy at the night that she and her husband were introduced to the community as the DePaul president, that was the first time I'd ever met the woman. Haven't seen her since. She lives 2 doors from me. Haven't seen her since. I just thought she interviewed the best. I liked her resume. She's an experienced educator. I just think she'd be great for that position.
I'd like to add, from my notes here, she is the one candidate that is actually taught in our schools. And I think that, other things being equal, is a real plus. She has board experience with Putnam County Library and other organizations. She's the only one that talked about pursuing, one of her goals was to hire curriculum specialists in core areas, starting with math and reading, then extending to science and social science. She would promote means for regularly getting feedback from staff, students, parents, and members of the community, so the school board operates openly while respecting the chain of command. And I think she's a strong woman who will assert herself, in school board discussions in a positive way.
I'm looking for a more open school board, okay? And I think she would be that way. I think she would take the board that direction.
And, all 3 candidates have DePaul ties in one way or another. And for the folks out there that are not very favorable towards DePaul, the bloggers in particular, I think the fact that she's married to the president of the university and the kind of resources, educationally, financial, and others, that the university has, I don't think that hurts us a bit at all that her husband's the president of the university.
I liked that she said, I'm an advocate for public schools, because that's kind of a hot topic right now.
Yeah, it is.
I also she talked about how when they came to look at Greencastle, one of their main concerns was the schools. That was going to probably determine where they lived. They wanted to live in Greencastle, but how the schools were so important. And I like that she has that set of eyes as far as looking at new people coming in, because we want to build, we want to attract more people, we want more people to want to live and work in Greencastle. And such a big piece of that is always going to be the schools for those that have families. So I just liked her perspective. I liked her positive attitude about public schools, and I think that she could be a real asset to us.
I would echo, I don't know that there's a whole lot to add from what's already been said. I think all 3 candidates did well in their interviews and would be good candidates for the school board. I thought it was interesting how contrasting their personalities and styles are with each other, though they brought up sort of similar ideas and perspectives and thoughts and opinions about education in general and how we can continue to make improvements in the city of Greencastle. I do feel like Lisa McCoy did provide, sort of like Dave talked about, a different kind of perspective, both as an educator. I was very impressed by how exceptionally well prepared she was for the interview. And I think her career and the different things that she's been involved in as a professional can only benefit the work that we do in the school corporation. And so I would join the rest of council and definitely agreeing that Lisa McCoy is a great choice for this school board. I think she's going to do really well. I also don't want to be remiss in not thanking Lisa Lazar for her term of service on the board. I feel like we say this almost every time when we do a school board appointment, but Lisa came in during sort of the end of a rocky time on the school corporation board, and I feel like has done a really, really good job in that role. I think that all the candidates expressed their strong belief that Jeff Hubbell's the right guy to lead the school corporation, and I wholeheartedly agree with that. I think Jeff's been a tremendous asset to our community and appreciate his leadership in that front, and I hope that Lisa McCoy will follow in the tradition of Lisa Lazar and be a tremendous asset in Jeff's work. So kudos to Lisa, and I agree with the council.
It was clear that all 3 candidates have passion about the school.
Oh, certainly, yeah. No-
Very
no-
clear.
no question.
I add to that, I thank Lisa Lazar for her service, too.
So if we take this vote, just so everybody's clear, we will not be discussing any other candidates. So if you want to discuss another candidate, now is the time to do so, because if this vote passes, the discussion terminates at that point. Okay.
I'm going to call the question.
Thank you. That was my next word. The question's been called. We will go with the vote. All those in favor of appointing Lisa McCoy to the Greencastle School Board as Greencastle Common Council appointment, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstaining? Abstain?
Abstain.
Okay, so Gary and Adam,
Yeah.
you're abstaining?
Now, is there any business we've missed?
I just want to make one comment. There was a lot of good discussion during the interviews. I had a very pleasant conversation with Jeff Hubble after the third interview. Jeff made the offer that if council would like, he would be happy to schedule a joint meeting with the school board at some point in the future. And I asked Jeff if he would be willing to kind of explain what Neola policies are, why they're so rigid, and as a result of some of the questions that were asked during the interview process, and he has graciously said he would be more than happy to come and share some of that information with the council. So
My biggest question is, why does the school corporation have to be run by Neola policies instead of their own policies?
Well, I think at this joint meeting, we'll learn.
That'll be a good question.
That's
or
a great
good
question.
Probably
topic.
some of the stuff we run. I did also ask Jeff, just out of curiosity, what percentage of the kids in the Greencastle school system are actually from the city of Greencastle versus Madison Township and but there is no rush on that, Jeff. That is not. Tomorrow 9 a.m.'s fine.
No, 9 a.m.
9 a.m.'s fine. I'm kidding. No rush. Gary, this is your time of the meeting.
I'd like to move the meeting be adjourned.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adjourn. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Thank you all very much this evening.